Hey, Atkinson. You have someone lurking. Okay, great. Enjoy your lurk.
I would really prefer if you would be quiet.
There we go. Wow, that was difficult. Okay. My apologies. I have no idea what just happened. But there we go. That's life. Alright. And my layout isn't going to work too well because my chat part is not legible at all. So let's fix that. All kinds of issues today. I've got to shrink this a little bit. Let's bring you over. And let's go back to boxed. We'll see if that works. Okay. He speaks. It's a little, yeah, I'm clipping like crazy. Let's bring this down. How's this? Any better? Any better? How's that? Is that better? Can we go with this volume? I leave for a moment and everything goes haywire. I don't know what to say. It's Sunday. That's all I got. That's all I got. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to Sunday. Let's see. Let's get stuff cooking here. The puzzle is ready. It is up. It is live. Attack that at free will. We haven't started Stream Raiders just yet. I like to give it a couple minutes before we start Stream Raiders, just so we can get some extra bodies in here, especially when we're coming up to a harder fight, because we've got 3 and 4 skulls, and then we're at the boss, so it's like we gotta have plenty of muscle going on in order to survive. I mean, we might be fine, but you just don't know until you start it, and I want to be cautious, I want us to win. But anyway, how's everybody's weekends been? How's everybody doing? Everyone having a good time? Do anything exciting? Or do you perhaps have an exciting week coming up? Maybe there's something fun happening, on Monday. It's possible. It is possible. So, So yes, hi, Aronel, thank you for raiding earlier, by the way. I appreciate that. Aronel is part of the USG team. Officially. So, please, go give her a follow. She is working towards affiliate. She needs some followers. So, let's help her out. She's a wonderful human being. It's worth the follow. Dark Angel says, for me, I'll be releasing the hardcover for Pixie Dust next month. Awesome. Fantastic. That's always a good goal. That is a good goal. And let's see, Stunt Papa was in here before. He had to go lurk. He said he'd be back. So that'll be fun. Aaron and Aronel raided. I was playing Kingdom, but I'm reading later. Wait, is Aaron here? Did I miss it? Let me check. Oh, David. Thank you for that, host. Thank you so much. He was, but he left. That's okay. Probably had something to do, and I understand. It's 8:15 his time, so probably had something going on. I've got my hot tea with me, like usual. Saw Play Carrington got his USG membership. That is right. We added another member to the ranks of USG. We're growing, folks. We are growing. Oh, perfect temperature. Yes, there aren't that many readers out there. But for those of us that are, we have to make sure that we band together and show our numbers. If we just sit out there in solo mode individually, just, in the dark, we're not going to get the acknowledgement that we deserve as a group, as the reading fun or reading-esque category. So we have to come together. We have to band together, show our strength, and make sure that the Twitch community as a whole knows that this category is worth it, because reading a book or listening to an audiobook, or in our case, a live audiobook, right? It's worth it. It's important. And it can be fun. It can also take you on a journey that you've never been on. It can take you places. It can give you an emotional journey that you never thought was possible. And you might even learn something too. So, there you go. That's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm still tweaking. There, I want to make that nice and large. Okay. More tea. So yeah, this is the barn. There's a lot of manure talk in this book. Well, not a lot, but it gets brought up every other chapter. So I thought today we could do a puzzle based off of a barn and some horses, because that's where the manure is coming from. So David, how are you, sir? Did David get a shout out? Yes, he did. Okay, good. Aaron L says, are you loving Jane Eyre yet? David is a classics reader, also great musician. Main job as a fantastic actor. This is true. All true things. All true things. In the About section below, you'll see all of the USG readers. David would have joined USG, but due to a conflict, it prevents him from doing so. So we consider him an honorary, unofficial member. So yeah. Oh, for those of you that didn't see it in the Discord, check this out. Isn't that fun? I got one for myself. Hi. I thought hi was appropriate since it's like... Hello? Anyway. Mary B went ahead and watched the BBC Jane Eyre. Ooh, okay. Not shocked by that. Alright, let's take a look here. So our recap for chapters 15 and 16 is very short. Because when I'm doing the recaps, I don't want to ruin too much. I just want to grab someone's attention to say, okay, this is the vague idea, and now I can go get the book and see for myself. So, in these chapters, we learn a little more about Robert and his past, and kind of the tragic story of how he lost his parents. And it was just an everyday outing. And when I read that, actually, it gave me a flashback, because when I was a little kid, and I was still living in the UK, I was out with my parents. They were doing some shopping, so I was with them. And I always enjoyed going because it was the hustle and the bustle of the streets. And it was the area of town where it was still like a cobblestone roadways. And I loved it. And I, of course, being so young, I was distracted by everything. But it was such an amazing, wonderful time, like a magical place. But I turned around and I couldn't see my parents, and I freaked out. So I went back to where I thought they were, and thankfully, obviously, I found them. But when I read that about Robert, that took me right back. So, well done, Jenna, for, adding in a detail like that that's so real life. So that was part of the story of our recap. And then Jane is waiting for midnight to arrive on New Year's Eve. She's not 100% sure if Dr. Tweedle is going to pick her up, but thankfully, he does. So Jane gets whisked back to the academy, where there's dancing and partying and all that good stuff. And she finds her friends, and even has a little, face-to-face battle with, I all of a sudden forgot, Betty Ann. And Betty Ann does not get the better of them this time, so the tables turned on that one, and it was awesome. So yeah. Thank you, I got lost from my parents in an art show in downtown Pittsburgh, and I was panicked for a bit, but they did find me. Yeah, it happens more than we realize, Alright, so let's get Stream Raiders going, and then we'll get into the book. Okay, so we have an option here. We can go 4 skull, and then move on to another 4 skull that has a gold chest. Or we can go with a 3 skull first that has a silver chest, and then another 3 skull that has a silver chest, and then get to the boss. So it's either 4 skull and gold, or 3 skull and silver. Higher risk, higher reward. Lower risk, lower reward. So, does anyone have a preference? Higher or lower? Gold or silver? You tell me. What do you think? You're the ones putting troops down, so... Lower? Alright. We'll go silver. I'm weak. You're not that weak. Come on now. Give yourself some credit. Okay. Enemies will be revealed over time. Shoot. I guess I'll just put my tank then. Alright, so here's what we'll do. We'll do a line of tanks in the front. Archers behind that. Melee at the sides. A line of whatever. And just because I've seen it be helpful, if you have any flying rogues, a few of those might come in handy. You just never know. Alright, well that takes care of Stream Raiders. Can't stay, have a good read? No worries, thank you, Hicks. Oh, Hicks, just before you go, I want to show you this in case you didn't see it. Check this out. Isn't that cool? I chose red for something different, but I have different colors, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. And it's sturdy too, like this thing is, it's a solid case. Okay. Chapter 17 for today is called Day of Freedom. So, feel free to do the puzzle, drop some troops in Stream Raiders, and I will read to you. Let's go fight together, charge my pawns. I awoke to Josephina shaking me and the feel of fur against my face. Coco was curled around my head, and Josephina was sitting on the side of my bed. Good morning, Jane. It's 11:30. If you get up now, we might make it in time for lunch, Josephina said. It's 11:30? I asked sleepily. I've never slept so late in my life. I'm sorry to wake you, but I'm hungry, she laughed. I crawled out of bed and quickly put on an informal dress to wear to lunch. It felt strange to be at the Jelf Academy and not attend class. Are you ready to go now? Josephine asked. I still need to fix my hair and brush my teeth, I said, shuffling to the bathroom. In a few minutes, I was ready. Josephina and I headed down to the dining hall and saw that the tables were back in order. There was no sign that a party had taken place that night before. What do you want to do today? Josephina asked as we waited to select our meal. I don't care what we do, I replied. I'm just happy to have a day of relaxation. Josephina told me that you were here, Miguel said as he approached us. I thought I would join you. My roommate still hasn't returned from Christmas break. I thought it was strange, but we don't have class today, so maybe he'll come back tonight, or even tomorrow morning. He isn't very social. Perhaps that's why he didn't come back for the party last night. Who's your roommate? I asked. Do you remember Henry Adams in our Predicting the Future class? Miguel said. Josephina and I nodded. I remembered he was a small, anxious boy. We were placed together since we both don't know anyone to room with. He's very nice, but extremely quiet. He never says much. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Maybe his family went on vacation over Christmas, Josephina suggested. If he had any holiday plans, he didn't mention it to me. But then again, he never told me anything, Miguel pondered. We finished our lunch and then debated on what to do. Finally, we decided to have a snowball fight on the lawn outside. I was thankful for my mother's coat because it kept me warm, and I didn't even feel like I was outside. Pixie snowball fighting was very different from what I witnessed between Emily and Preston. Instead of picking up snow and forming it into a ball with our hands, we were able to use our minds. I had better aim by using my mind than if I would have thrown it with my hand. I could visually direct the snowball to land exactly where I wanted. Also, by not having to form the snowballs with my hands. I could make them as enormous as I wanted. I couldn't remember laughing so much. We came in from the cold to get ready for dinner. My coat and the bottom of my dress were drenched. Josephina and I sloshed up to our room, our noses and ears red. Josephina began changing out of her wet clothes, but I stood by the door, thinking. I wanted to experiment with my abilities to see what I could do without charms. I knew I could heat other objects by using my hands, but would I be able to heat my entire body? I closed my eyes and concentrated. Soon after, I felt a warm, tingling sensation. Jane, what are you doing? Josephina exclaimed after a few minutes. You're smoking. My eyes snapped open and I glanced down. Steam was rising from my clothes. Soon, the warm sensation intensified, and I figured it was because my clothes were drying. Sure enough, when I touched my coat, it was no longer damp. Don't worry, Josephina. I'm only drying my clothes. Look, I said, showing her my sleeve. Wow, Jane. I can't believe you have the ability to mentally dry your clothes. That kind of mental concentration takes a lot of practice, she said, touching my coat. I wanted to see if I could do by only using my mind. I thought if I could warm my hands, maybe I could emit heat from everywhere. How do you do that? Josephina asked, still awed. I just concentrated on what I wanted to happen, I replied. See, I've been telling you that you're talented, Josephina giggled. Josephina stopped changing and attempted to dry her damp dress. I stood watching her, and after a moment, steam rose from her dress. Josephina, you're doing it. I told you it was easy, I said with delight. I'm sure it is for you. After a few minutes of trying by myself, I had to ask Miguel to help me, and finally, they began drying. Josephina sighed. Wait, you and Miguel can combine thoughts to do magic charms? Or to do magic without charms? I asked, startled. Yes, that's what makes twins special. We can talk to each other and combine our magic. Josephina shrugged her shoulders as if it was nothing special. Dr. Tweedle told me that the more we practice, the better developed our minds will be. Can you imagine how powerful you and Miguel will be by the time we graduate from here? I stated. I know, but it seems like your mind is already developed. I laughed at her confidence in me. I didn't know why Miguel and Josephina thought so highly of me. Josephina and I headed down to dinner in our newly dried clothes. Meeting Miguel at the entrance of the dining hall, he looked worried. Josephina grabbed Miguel's arm with concern on her face now. He hasn't come back yet? I gazed at them, trying to understand what they were talking about. It didn't seem fair that they could read each other's minds, especially when they didn't explain. No, he hasn't returned, Miguel replied, looking solemn. I'm sure there's a perfect explanation, Josephina said reassuringly. Excuse me, I interrupted. I can't read either of your minds, so I have no clue what you're talking about. Sorry, Jane, Josephina apologized. Miguel's roommate, Henry, still hasn't returned. Miguel looked anxious, so I said, Maybe Henry will be back later tonight or tomorrow. Miguel smiled at me and shrugged his shoulders. I followed the twins into a line and waited to get dinner. Where do pixies go on vacation? I asked. Were there special places only pixies could go? Pixies go to similar places that humans travel to. Humans just don't understand the significance of certain places. The Mayan temples in Mexico were built by pixies. So were the Egyptian pyramids. Humans wouldn't be strong enough to build those structures with primitive tools. That's why, back in ancient times, pixies were rulers and healers, and humans were our subjects. Pixies have their own forms of government now, because humans became aware of what we truly are. We no longer look like gods to them anymore. When humans realized that pixies could become ill or die, they knew we weren't gods. Some humans, like the WASP, think they can kill us and take our powers. That's why pixies have to hide. It's too much of a risk, Miguel explained. Miguel, I'm impressed. I didn't know you knew all this history, I exclaimed. No wonder you and Josephina are getting top marks on all of Mrs. Colleyworth's tests. Our uncle, Fernando, is a historian, Josephina explained. What he knows is fascinating, but I can't listen when he talks about how the Mayans sacrificed humans to their gods. He goes into detail about that stuff, she said, she made a disgusted face. Josephina, that stuff's interesting, Miguel replied. Uncle Fernando told us that Stonehenge was built by an Anglo-Saxon pixies. Who else would have been able to build a huge astrological calendar or move those stones? Uncle Fernando gets to travel to different places around the world to research ancient cultures. He's a pixie archaeologist. I've considered going into his field, and then we could travel together. My dad isn't too enthusiastic about me following in his brother's footsteps. He thinks that I should help Juan with the family gem business, or go into government law. We have plenty of time to choose a career. It's only our first year. We don't have to have an idea until the 5th year, Josephina said. I was fascinated to learn that pixies could be tracked through ancient history. I was having a hard time remembering things about the current pixie world. It was hard to imagine learning about the past. For a brief moment, I wondered if I did belong here. But I pushed the thought from my mind as I looked at Josephina and Miguel's smiling faces. And that is a quite short chapter 17. So there you go. Amazing snowball fights and history. Rio, welcome and thank you so much for a 7-month subscription. Holy buckets. It is weird to think that it's been 7 months. Wow. Okay, hold on. I need to blow my nose. I'm gonna mute my mic for this one. Okay. Yes, thank you so much. That was amazing. So many buckets. Buckets. How have you been feeling, Atkinson? Well, as long as I take it easy, David, I don't do too bad. I made the mistake this morning of going up and down a few too many stairs, but I took a nap before streaming, so I'm doing a little better. The only thing that's bugging me right now is my throat. That's why I've got my tea. Yes, the VR chat. Oh, Rio. Can you remind me what VR set you have? Because I now have an Oculus Quest 2. And I love it. I'm still learning things and trying to figure stuff out, but what I've learned so far, I love. What is your tea of choice? I am drinking English breakfast black tea with a little bit of milk and a couple of spoons of sugar to sweeten it up. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's what I would drink back home in the UK. You have the Valve Index. I have no idea what that is, but I know you use it all the time, so it must be pretty good. The question is, if we have different VR headsets, can we still, connect and play games together? I don't know. We can? Okay, cool. Good to know. I don't have the golf game just yet. I went straight for pew pew kind of stuff. So. So I'm kind of shocked, guys. No one started the puzzle. Do you guys not want to do a puzzle today? That's okay if you don't want to. I'm going to put the link out one more time, just in case. And of course, you can grab the link at any... Helps if I spell it right. Jeepers. There we go. Aaron L says, give me a few minutes. Okay. Puzzle away if you want to. It's a good puzzle. It's a barn with some horsies next to a little river. I think it's a river. There's water. Doesn't matter. Right. It's been 4 weeks now since my throat started feeling and acting this way. And it's still not resolved. I'm a patient guy, but I am losing it with this. Because 4 weeks feels like a very long time. And yes, puzzling is a little difficult on a mobile or even a iPad or tablet. So I understand. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's okay. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, if it makes it easier for the time being, since it's not... if it starts getting worked on, I will, put it back in the forefront. But for now, I can just do that. And that way, we have something a little bit nicer to look at. I can tell you. Whoa, what is going on? Oh, Rio. Thank you for gifting a sub to Stun Papa. That was super kind of you. He's lurking in the background right now. Aaron L says Stream Raiders is my priority. Well, at least we know where your priorities stand. And that's okay. In fact, I'll just do this. I'll make that bigger. There you go. We have 8 minutes left on Stream Raiders. Average aim. How are you, sir? Welcome in. We're pretty close to the boss, Average, so question is, will we... Yeah, so we got this battle, one more battle, and then our choice of boss, so not too far away. Project Zomboid, what is that? Average Aim, please tell me, what is Project Zomboid? I have never heard of that in my life. But it sounds interesting. Alright. A zombie game that was thrust upon me. Okay. Well, to be fair, I got the zombie part. You know, I put 2 and 2 together on that. Carrington! Okay, when I say your name out loud, Carrington, I want to say something like, Mr. Carrington. But yeah. Hi, sir. How are you? Good morning. Well, it's afternoon for me, but I'm having fun with it, though. We have a 24/7 server for it. Awesome. Alright. What's the story today? We're on Pixie Dust. We're about to start chapter 18. Here, I haven't done this yet, so let me... Exclamation PD. If you want to add this book to your library or check it out for yourself, go ahead. It's coming out on hardback next month, so stay tuned. For reference, though, we are on page 219 out of 305. So 86 pages remain. Dun dun dun. Feels like yesterday we just started. Alright. Who is ready for the next chapter? Heroes don't choose to become heroes. It is thrust upon them. That's what I thought of when I heard you use that word to describe the game. Interesting. Heroes don't choose to become heroes. But what if you do choose to become a hero? Or can you not? Are you just not allowed to be a hero? Listening to Atkinson and watching Rothstein play online slots. Oh boy. I don't do slots. That's it. I played slots like 3 times in my life. That's it. In Project Zomboid, there is no winning. It's just how long can you survive. That sounds like a movie pitch. And I feel like I've got the deep, raspy voice to do it. So it'd be like, in a world where zombies roam free, your only chance of winning is just to survive. You know, something like that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Watching online gambling is a guilty pleasure, but at least I'm not playing. Yeah, well, there's that. Alright. We need to get into this book, folks. You're distracting me. Oh, Average Aim. Check this out. And Carrington. You guys didn't get to see it. That's my emote phone case. Hi. I kind of like it. Isn't that fun? I love it. Okay. Chapter 18 is called A Charm of Confusion. It is all of my stuff is available to subscribers at a discounted rate. Depending on what tier you are. So if you're tier 1, you get, I think it's 10%. If you're at tier 2, it's a higher, tier 3 even higher, so. Or maybe it's 15. I'd have to check, but it's something like that. So. Okay. Chapter 18, A Charm of Confusion. Classes began too early the next morning. I was surprisingly tired, even after having a day of rest. Gemstones 101 went smoothly, and soon we entered predicting the future. Miss Crescent was sitting in the middle of the room, holding sticks of incense. She cast what I guessed to be a mild fire charm, and they sparked to life. Still got about a minute and a half on the fight. I can see it on my screen. Yep. I'll get this page in and then we'll do it. Then she dramatically blew out the flame, causing the incense to smoke. Miss Crescent looked at me as I took a seat, and I could have sworn she had a frown on her face. When the whole class arrived, Miss Crescent stood up and paced the room. Today, class, I was going to begin lecturing on mystical auras and how you can see someone's energy. But I've changed my mind. Instead, we'll be discussing the importance of future predictions and why we should pay attention to them. When we receive future insights, they come to us for a reason. These warnings of events that could come to pass if we do not act on them. When they are ignored, all sorts of trouble could occur. She's going to go on with her text, so I'll leave it there. Let's do the battle. Look at all these lovelies. And look at all these pitiful 4 bad guys. So funny. This will be over in a jiffy. That's right, you gotta fight for your right to party. Wow, that was quick. Average Aim gets the gold, Aronau gets the Barbarian Scrolls. Good job, everybody. Let's quickly now get into the next battle. Just laying down. Pretty similar setup that we had last time. There you go. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Did they actually have a chance? No. What is that emote? Ion's Dance 5. That's fun. Alright. Let's get back to the story, shall we? I'll reread the last sentence. When they are ignored, all sorts of trouble could occur. For example, if you are warned about a certain place, you shouldn't venture to that location. If we don't listen and open our minds to the signs we're receiving, then disaster could strike, Miss Crescent said very dramatically. Some students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. It is also very important when a person with significant practice in the art of seeing the future shares their insights of the visions they received. You should listen to me during our meetings. I have had significant training and would deem myself highly qualified when it comes to interpreting the future. You should heed my predictions, for they are of the utmost importance. Class is dismissed since my inner eye can't focus today. Tomorrow, we'll start ORS. Miss Crescent sighed. We looked at each other in confusion before we filed out of the classroom. Uh-oh, something to do with the roommate, I think. Question is, does anyone remember what his prediction was?
I can speak in Japanese. Kawaii, kawaii.
Thank you for playing that. Another hydrate. All right. Thank you. It's good stuff. Full of herself, isn't she? Miguel asked once we were far enough down the hall. All she told me when we had a private session was to study or else I would fail midterms. As if that wasn't obvious. Maybe she had nothing life-threatening to tell you, Josephina said. Come on, Josephina. Why are you defending her? She just acted like her insights into the future were the most important things in our lives, Miguel complained. Maybe you're right, but I do feel like I've learned a lot in her class. What do you think, Jane? Josephina asked. When I had my private session, Miss Crescent told me things that didn't make sense. You think she would have foreseen that I was going to be sent home a week early? I would have liked to have avoided that. I agreed with Miguel. Something just tells me that we should listen to what she has to say and not blow it off entirely, Josephina commented. Miguel shook his head Try again. Miguel shook his head at her as we sat down in History of Pixies. Did you notice that Henry Adams wasn't in predicting the future today? Miguel pointed out, looking very troubled. I didn't notice, but I also wasn't looking for him, I said. It's odd because he doesn't strike me as the kind of person to miss class. He was always too nervous about it, Miguel replied. He wasn't in our room this morning either. Before we could continue our conversation, Mr. Colleyworth entered the room and began another boring lecture about the Civil War, telling us pixies fought for both sides. The southern pixies believed that if they could keep slaves, they would still be in control of humans. The northern pixies disagreed because they have decided a long time ago to let humans have their own society. The Civil War was the official end to pixies ruling humans, at least in America. Pixies in the past fought in human wars because they believe in the cause, or they want to be inconspicuous. This still happens today, Mr. Colliworth droned on. After what seemed like hours, we were finally dismissed from class and made our way down to lunch. I'm so glad to be out of there. I feel like I lasted 5 hours, Josephina complained. I thought it was fascinating. If you would just listen for once. I'm going to start blocking my mind during tests if you don't start soon, Miguel countered. I kept my mouth closed and my amusement to myself. I could understand both of their points. Mr. Colliworth was boring, but the information had the potential to be interesting. Maybe it was only that way for me because I found everything about the pixie world interesting. Of course, lunch went quickly because my least favorite class was right after. Whatever Mr. Withermeyer had planned would seem like punishment for having a holiday break. Josephina, Miguel, and I cautiously entered the classroom and took our seats. Mr. Withermeyer wasn't seated at the front of the room, but we knew better than to talk. Even without his presence, his eyes still seemed to be on us. I pulled my Pixie Dust case from my bag, along with the mortar and pestle. The classroom filled up, and still, Mr. Withermeyer hadn't entered. We all sat in silence, no one daring to even murmur. Finally, 5 minutes after the start of class, Mr. Withermeyer strode into the classroom. He acted like he was on time and looked as if he was daring someone to comment on his lateness. Open your books to page 102. Today you will craft a confusion charm, and then test your charm on one of your classmates. Depending on how confused they become, will inform me of who was successful. Don't worry, I may use an undoing charm to reverse the effects afterwards, but I'll judge that by the performance of the class. He grinned wickedly. You have until 10 minutes are remaining in the class to perfect your charm. As a side note, I will know if you're faking the effects of the charm, so do not attempt to save your friend's grade. I swallowed the lump in my throat and opened my book. I measured out 1 4 cups of peridots and began heating them in my cupped hands. When they were slightly warm, I began crushing them into powder with the mortar and pestle. As I crushed, I looked to my left and noticed Josephina was sweating. I took a deep breath and read the 3rd step. I had to measure the same number of peridots, but I had to chill them instead. How was I supposed to do that? If I could heat my body, did that mean I could cool myself down too? I closed my eyes, trying to concentrate with all the noise in the room. Dr. Tweedle said pixies could do anything with firm concentration and discipline of the mind. I held the 2nd cup of peridots in my hand and imagined...
Hey, Atkinson.
Yo, what's up?
You have someone lurking.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, great. Enjoy your lurk.
Enjoy your lurk, David. I held the 2nd cup of peridots in my hands and imagined my hands were freezing. Suddenly, I began to feel the numbness in my hands, almost as if I had gone out on a cold day without gloves. I kept concentrating like this for a few minutes, and then I touched the stones. I could feel a temperature change, but not drastic enough to chill them. I knew my time was limited, so I tried to think faster. Compelled by an idea, I brought the stones up to my mouth and blew on them. I imagined that both my breath and hands were icy cold. This odd idea seemed to be working, and soon my paradots were chilled. I will refrain from using command in the future. I quickly crushed them, the whole time praying that Betty Ann hadn't seen what I had done. She had passed other charms by copying off me, so I hoped she was too distracted to notice. Now, I had to measure half a cup of the cold pixie dust and mix it into the warm bowl. The directions stated that the pixie dust needed mixed in 3 complete rotations, clockwise, and then 5 rotations counterclockwise. I counted slowly. Once the rotations were completed, I had to add the remaining dust half a cup at a time, repeating the instructions. I was just making my last rotation when Mr. Withermeyer asked us to put down our equipment. I will be choosing the classmate on whom you will test your charm. Let's begin with Brian Nichols, testing his charm on Miss Lacey Stevenson. A brown-haired boy with a small number of freckles on his face slowly walked to the front of the class, along with a pretty blonde-haired girl who looked nervous. Do you have a glass of water to put my charm in? The book says it could be added to a beverage. Brian stuttered. I hoped you read how to make the charm better than you read the description of how to use it, Mr. Withermeyer sneered. The charm can be added to food or drink, but that's only to be inconspicuous. Miss Stevenson knows what you are doing. I hardly see the point in wasting the time to conceal it. Move along, Mr. Nichols, and cast the charm. Lacey, excuse me. Lacey looked like she was bracing herself as Brian stepped closer. He cast the light green dust into the air above her. Then he stepped back, waiting on her reaction. Lacey opened her eyes and blinked rapidly. Why am I in charms class? She blurred. I thought I was on Christmas break. What is your name? Mr. Withermeyer asked. Lacey Stevenson, of course, she replied as if it was the dumbest question in the world. Only semi-satisfactory, Mr. Nichols. Miss Stevenson only managed to forget what day it was. A powerful confusion charm wouldn't have allowed her to remember her name or where she was. Please, take your seats. Mr. Withermeyer then proceeded to call up other students. Everyone was able to remember at least something after they'd been charmed. Miss Betty Ann Barber will test her charm on Miss Jane Fitzgerald, Mr. Withermeyer said. His smile seemed malicious. Betty Ann skipped to the front of the room as if she had been awarded the best prize of her life. I glared at both of them, a wave of anger bubbling in my chest. Hold on. I should have seen this coming. If she had copied me like before, then I might be in trouble. I was sure Mr. Withermeyer wouldn't undo the effects of the charm on me. Slowly, I rose from my seat and made my way to the front of the room. Betty Ann's smile grew larger as I stood in front of her. I braced myself for what was about to happen, and imagined my mind surrounded by a wall. This was my feeble attempt at protection, other than fleeing the room completely. Betty Ann began casting a charm over me, and instantly I felt my mind begin to cloud. I could almost visualize it happening, and I knew I had to fight it. I mentally pushed against the thick fog that was entering my mind. I clung to my identity and that I knew what was happening around me. The fog hung. Wow, I am nailing words today, just absolutely nailing it. The fog hung in my mind, and I thought I was going to be sick. I knew that if I succumbed to the fog, the sickness would go away. But I also understood if I did, Betty Ann's charm would take over. I fought the fog as hard as I could, and slowly, it started to recede. My mind became stronger until eventually the fog lifted, and I felt normal again. "What is your name?" Mr. Withermeyer asked, pulling my attention to him. "My name's Jane Fitzgerald. I feel perfectly fine," I said firmly. "She's lying," Betty Ann shouted. "I saw her eyes glaze over. It has to have affected her." Mr. Withermeyer glared at me. "Ask me any questions you want to." Wrong voice. "Ask me any questions you want to," I replied. Mr. Withermeyer. Sorry, folks. My throat just won't let me get clear today. Mr. Withermeyer began asking me a series of questions about my life, and with each correct answer his frown grew deeper. Finally, he ceased his interrogation. I was sure it bothered him that I had answered all the questions correctly. "Return to your seat, Miss Barber," Mr. Withermeyer growled. "Stay at the front of the room, Miss Fitzgerald. It's time to test your charm. You will test it on Miss Taylor Miller." Taylor rose from her seat, looking very scared and vulnerable. My heart rose in my throat. Why did I have to test my charm on her? Taylor had a childlike quality about her, and casting my charm felt wrong. Hopefully, since she was so smart, she would be able to fight it as I did. Taylor stood in front of me with her eyes cast down, managing to look smaller than usual. Slowly, I cast my charm over her and prayed for the best. Instantly, her eyes glazed over and her body shuddered. "Where am I?" she wailed before Mr. Withermeyer had a chance to question her. Obviously, she wasn't fighting it. Taylor crossed her arms over her chest and slightly bent over. "What is your name?" Mr. Withermeyer asked her. "Am I Tammy?" she asked. "Please don't hurt me," she screamed. Her shrill scream shook me to my core, and I just wanted to help her. I wished I knew how to cast an undoing charm. Taylor crouched down and placed her hands over her eyes. She started rocking back and forth as she screamed, "Help me! Help me! Don't let them kill me!" The whole class looked shocked. No one else had reacted like this. Mr. Withermeyer looked taken aback, but he quickly composed himself. "Class is dismissed," he snarled as he walked toward Taylor and cast his undoing charm on her. I stood rooted to the floor, terrified by what my charm had done to her. I watched Taylor relax and then collapse into a faint. Mr. Withermeyer bent down and gently lifted her head off the ground. I'm sorry, I stammered as the rest of the class fled the room. What had I done? Mr. Withermeyer turned on me. I said class was dismissed, Miss Fitzgerald. You may now leave, he demanded. Back and now listening. Well, welcome back, Higgs. Glad to have you. I collected... My throat just is not cooperating. Gosh. Let's try this again. I collected my materials and quickly made my way to Earth Catastrophes. I felt horrible about what my charm had done to Taylor. Who did she think was going to hurt her? Did I complete my charm correctly? My stomach fluttered about the possibility of being called to Dr. Tweedle's office. This would be it. The Pixie government would definitely vote to expel me now. Josephina and Miguel were already in the classroom when I arrived. They both looked as shaken as I was. I don't know what I did. I completed the charm exactly as the book said, I said frantically. Calm down, Jane. I'm sure it will be okay. Mr. Withermeyer did the undoing charm. Once Taylor has a minute to recuperate, she'll probably be okay. I don't think it was your fault, Jane, Josephina said, trying to comfort me. No one else acted like that. I feel terrible. The way Taylor screamed frightened me. I choked back my tears. I'm afraid I did something wrong, and any minute I'll be sent to Dr. Tweedle's office. I'll be packing my bag and leaving the Jelf Academy forever. Jane, I know of students who may have done worse at this academy. Juan has told me that students have been expelled for intentionally causing harm to others. You didn't set out to hurt Taylor. Mr. Withermeyer had us cast the charms on each other. It's not your fault, Miguel said. Even though they both assured me that everything would be okay, I couldn't help feeling disturbed. With the arrival of Mr. LaRue's, we had to end our conversation. I couldn't concentrate on the lesson. When Taylor didn't come to class, I really began to worry. Any minute, I would be called to Dr. Tweedle's office to explain myself. I also feared for Taylor's well-being. I followed Miguel and Josephina to zodiac signs, not feeling very talkative. I knew they thought it wasn't my fault, but they weren't the ones who cast the charm on Taylor. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to concentrate on zodiac signs. As the other students filed in, I noticed that Taylor wasn't coming to this class too. I felt even sicker. What had my charm done for her to be as absent from 2 classes? Through zodiac signs, I sat on pins and needles. I planned to go straight to Dr. Tweedle's office after the class, unless I was called sooner than that. My anxiety made it hard to breathe, but I wasn't requested to leave the room. As soon as we were dismissed, I sprinted from the room. When I got to Dr. Tweedle's office, I knocked as calmly as I could. Slowly, the door swung open, and I could see Dr. Tweedle sitting at his desk. Come in, Jane. I figured I would be seeing you. How's Miss Miller? She didn't come to our other classes. Is she okay? I fired off quickly. Miss Miller will be fine. Right now, She is resting in her hospital wing until she feels better, Dr. Tweedle replied. Is it my fault? Did I do the charm wrong? I asked, alarmed. No, Jane, it isn't your fault. Mr. Withermeyer brought me your confusion charm after testing it. I determined that it was completed correctly. Very well done on first try, if I can say that. But do you understand the effects of a confusion charm? Dr. Tweedle asked. I know they confuse the person who gets placed under one, I replied. Yes, but a person may entirely forget who they are. Past events may influence how someone reacts. A person may have suffered a traumatic event in the past, so when they become confused, they may believe the event is still happening. Feelings caused by the past may arise, Dr. Tweedle said. Is that what happened to her? I can guess that something of that nature must have happened, but I wouldn't be at liberty to discuss it. So I'm not going to be expelled? I asked, terrified. No. As I said, I have analyzed your charm and it was executed correctly. I don't feel the need to mention this in your report, Dr. Tweedle said reassuringly. Man, I am butchering today. I apologize. Dr. Tweedle, is it possible to mentally fight off the effects of different charms? I asked. I was curious about what I had felt when Betty Ann had cast her charm on me. Yes, it's possible to fight off the effects, but it takes a much-trained pixie to do it. Some of the most advanced pixies can't even fight off the total effects of a charm. It all depends on the charm's strength. Not even I can fight off every charm. I'm only asking because when Miss Barber cast her charm on me, my mind clouded at first, but then I was able to push away the fog and think clearly again. Dr. Tweedle stared at me for a moment with a surprised expression, but then he quickly tried to hide it. It's unheard of for the first-year pixies to mentally combat charms and completely disarm them. Miss Barber's charm must have been weak or not concocted properly. Surely you must have been a tad confused. I wasn't confused at all after the charm, I insisted. I felt like I was fighting back the fog in my head. Miss Barbara's charm must have been very weak then. As long as I've been headmaster of this school, I've never seen a young student accomplish that. Don't worry, Jane. Disarming charms will come with time. Most students develop this skill in their 5th year if they're lucky. An epic satire rogue. Thanks, Garuki. I bowed my head in acceptance. After all, Dr. Tweedle was the headmaster, and I should take his word for it. I just couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that I had fought Betty Ann's charm. Would it be possible for me to visit Miss Miller to see how she's doing? I'm devastated by what happened. Yes, you may, Dr. Tweedle said, brightening. I'll give you directions to the hospital wing. I thanked him as I exited his office. I took the stairs to the 3rd floor. Rounding the balustrade at the top of the stairs, I then turned to my left. The first door I came to had a plaque that read, Hospital Wing. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. When I entered, I glanced around the reception room. Several students sat on the chair waiting their turn. The walls were bleached white, and so was the outfit of the woman behind the counter. Her badge said Nurse Adelina, and she had a She had a kind, round face. Did I mention I woke up 80 minutes too early? Oof. Ouch. Wait, is our battle ready already? Jeepers, that was quick. Alright, let's pause right there then before the nurse starts talking. Alright, let us switch over. Okay. 21 allies, that is fantastic. Killing field's gonna be right around here, I think. Let's fight and find out. Pew, pew, pew. Garuki's taking a beating. Well, I wouldn't say a beating. It's more like a light whipping. See, Garuki, if you'd stood over here with the rest of us, then we could have, you know, fought back. So now you're just gonna stand there. But Garuki, he always does his own thing, folks. So. Oh, you almost had them all. I don't stand by you.
I can speak in Japanese. Kawaii, kawaii.
Good job, folks. David gets the healer. Garuki gets the buster. Alright. I see you're not going to lurk anymore. And Aranel has cooties? Wow. That seems a little harsh. Do you have cooties, Aranel? Alright. It's boss time, folks. Get out your epics. Bring out your epics. Not your dead. There he is. It's only a level 1. So we should be fine. Let's see. What do I have that's vaguely strong enough? Yep, I'll go vampire for the boss. So let's put vampires down here. If you have a vampire tank, just line those up right there. And then up here we'll put some archers and your basic tanks right there. Or not basic, but your normal tanks. So and then of course if you need to place you know, other units for some sort of quest, you may do so. Alrighty. Back to the story. Alright, so we just found ourselves in the hospital wing, and we saw a nurse. Nurse Adelina. "How can I help you, dear?" she asked when I walked up to the counter. "I'm here to see Taylor Miller. Dr. Tweedle told me I could come by." "All right, dear. Let me show you to Miss Miller's bedside." Nurse Adelina arose from the desk and took me through the door on the far left. We entered the true hospital wing, each bed sectioned off by a curtain. When we got to Taylor's bed, excuse me, I found her propped up on a pillow, looking very sad. "Hi, Taylor. How are you feeling?" I asked. Taylor looked down at her fingers and shrugged her shoulders. "I'll leave you girls alone for a while," Nurse Adelina said, making her way back to the office. "I'm really sorry about the effect my charm had on you. I didn't expect that to happen," I wanted to let you know that I had no intention of causing you or anyone else harm. I know it's not your fault. What happened to me was my fault. I was the one confused, Taylor said in her small voice. No, Taylor. We shouldn't have tested our charms on each other. It wasn't right. Mr. Withermeyer should have known someone could be harmed, I replied. The confusion charm isn't supposed to hurt people. Just confuse them. People forget who they are, or what they were doing, or where they're at. I read about almost all of the charms in our book. Then why did the charm harm you? I asked her. I was confused, and I just can't seem to forget, Taylor mumbled. Her eyes looked glassy with a faraway gaze. I don't understand. Taylor finally looked at me. I don't want to talk about it, she said loudly, startling me. I'll be fine. I stood, speechless. Suddenly, Nurse Adelina was at my elbow. Is everything okay in here? She asked. Taylor didn't speak again, and had gone back to looking at her hands. Maybe you should let her get some rest, Nurse Adelina said, touching my arm to steer me out of the room. I'm sorry, Taylor. I didn't mean to upset you. I just wanted to stop by to tell you that I was sorry and see how you were feeling. Get some rest. I hope you're feeling better soon, I said. Alright, let me finish this page and then I will do some bicep curls. Thank you for visiting me, Jane. I appreciate it, Taylor whispered in her usual quiet voice. Nurse Adelina led me back to the front office. I'm sure it'll take a while longer for the undoing charm to take full effect. She should be fine soon. Nothing to worry about. Thank you for allowing me to see her, I replied as I exited the hospital wing. On the way back to my room, I stopped at the closet restroom. Closet. Wow. I stopped at the closest restroom, not a closet restroom. There's no restrooms in closets that I'm aware of. When I finished, I was just about to exit the stall when I heard Betty Ann and her friends enter. It sounded like they were on their way to dinner, so I hesitated in the stall and decided to wait. Alright, we're about to hit the next page, so I will take this moment to do 10 bicep curls. Thank you, Hicks. Alright, appreciate it. happened in charms today," Betty Ann was complaining. "Jane must have cheated somehow. There is no way she felt nothing from my charm. She was lying." Oh, hold on. We have some info from our author. On the Mordor's map, the room of requirements did turn into a bathroom when Dumbledore needed one, and it was a closet at 1.2. Well, there you go. Thank you for coming to my rescue. "Why do you say that?" one of the girls asked. Did you see what Jane's charm did to that ugly, weird girl? Maybe Jane's more powerful than you think." "Be quiet, Marcia. There's no way a stupid half-human like Jane is more powerful than me. My family's bloodline dates back farther than anyone can remember. I come from a long line of powerful pixies. I know Jane must be cheating because I copied how she did her charm," Betty Ann said. I couldn't believe my ears. So, Betty Ann was copying off me. "Are you sure you copied Jane's charm correctly? Maybe you missed something," another girl said. "No, I didn't miss anything. I did exactly what she did. Jane should be the one in the hospital wing. If her charm put Miss Know-It-All there, my charm should have had the same effect. I wonder how she managed to cheat." Betty Ann fumed. Betty Ann, the one named Marcia, spoke. If Jane's terrible at everything, and isn't a true pixie, then why were you copying her charm? That's a great question. Marcia, just be quiet. Let's just go to dinner, Betty Ann commanded. Betty Ann's nervous. I heard them leave the restroom, but I was too stunned to move. If Betty Ann had copied my charm, then why didn't it have the same effect on me that it had on Taylor? Dr. Tweedle told me that I had completed the charm correctly. If Betty Ann had copied my charm, then wouldn't it be the same? I was so sure I had fought off the effects of the charm. Was Dr. Tweedle correct about the charm disarming? Or had he lied to me about it? And that is the question that ends Chapter 18. Oh boy. Alright, how much time we got? Let me see. I'm just trying to judge how long this next chapter is. And let's see, we have 18 minutes on Stream Readers. I think this will work out pretty well. We're going to read chapter 19. It's my fan. Yes, it is. We're going to read chapter 19 because that will take us from page 232 to 240. So it's about 8 pages, and we have 18 minutes left for Stream Readers. So everything should, line up pretty well. So. And then we can go raid. So, sounds like a plan. If I can get my freaking voice under control. Crikey. Okay. Chapter 19 is called Auras and False Accusations. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Oh, it starts off pretty heated, too. Alright, hold on. I gotta see if I can clear my throat, because this is driving me absolutely insane. Give me 1 second. Okay. We'll see if that helps. Maybe it won't. She's the cheater, Josephina exclaimed. I just finished telling her about visiting Taylor and what I had overheard in the bathroom. I've seen her looking at you in charms, especially for the harder assignments. It's no surprise to me that she would copy you. It was after dinner, and Josephina and I were back in our room. I hadn't mentioned my unintentional eavesdropping at dinner for fear of being overheard. I knew Josephina would be able to tell Miguel, so I waited until we could be in the privacy of our room. She has a lot of nerve with all this talk about how you're a human and that you have tainted blood. Well, I'd like to ask her why she's copying you when she's supposedly better than you, Josephina said excitedly. Promise me you won't, I said. Betty Ann's not worth the time. Okay, I won't say anything. I'm glad you found out that Taylor's all right, though, Josephina said brightly, but I couldn't look at the incident as something to be relieved about. Taylor had been so distressed. It was hard getting the image of her screaming out of my head. Moving on with time. Taylor was in class the next day, quiet and withdrawn as ever. Miguel's roommate, however, hadn't returned to the school. Miguel hadn't received any word from him, and we could only surmise his whereabouts. Oh, Miss Miller, I'm so glad to see you in this class, Betty Ann said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I thought Miss Fitzgerald had permanently damaged you. The way you screamed sounded like you were dying. I thought she'd made you go mentally insane. Taylor just kept her head down and continued staring at her books. I could see she was biting on the inside of her lip, doing her best to ignore Betty Ann. Hello? Betty Ann yelled when Taylor didn't answer. I'm talking to you. Maybe Fitzgerald did mess with your brain, Betty Ann said nastily. Just when I was about to stand up and defend Taylor, Miss Crescent breezed into the room. Take a seat, Miss Barber. Why are you still standing? Sorry, I was asking Miss Miller if she was okay. She was hurt by Miss Fitzgerald's charm yesterday, and I was just concerned. I don't know how she mixes a confusion charm, but obviously it's lethal. That's enough, Miss Barber. Please take your seat so that I can begin my lesson. I know this class will have a wonderful time learning about auras and how to detect them. Can anyone tell me what an aura is? No one in the class raised their hand. No one? Miss Crescent asked. Not even you, Miss Miller? I'm surprised. I heard Betty Ann snicker. An aura is the energy field that surrounds everything in the universe. Pixies, humans, animals, etc. Without knowing it, we project our emotions as colors. Knowing how to detect and read auras will give you a deeper insight into the world around you. You have to be able to open your mind and fully concentrate. This will be one of your first lessons of using your mind and eyes as one. I heard Miguel sigh. Please open your books to page 226. and we'll briefly discuss the colors. Then, you'll practice opening your minds to detect one of your classmates' auras. Great. More practicing on classmates since that turned out so well yesterday. I don't want Miss Fitzgerald as my partner, Betty Ann said loud enough for me to hear, but Miss Crescent didn't respond. As you can see, there are many different shades of each color, so you must be specific. An aura cannot just be red or yellow. You must describe precisely. Deep red, muddied red, bright red, or maybe even light or dark pink. If you're not specific with the color, you'll get the aura reading wrong. I want you to read over each aura color meaning, and then we'll get started on reading them for each other. Yeah, Gariki says you must learn the RGB codes. It is the way. I began reading. There were so many colors, and each color had 4 or 5 meanings attached to it, depending on the specific color description. How could anyone be accurate with all the different meanings? When you finish reading, pick a partner, and then I'll explain how to open your mind and see what is normally unseen, Miss Crescent announced. Excuse me. I partnered with Josephina, and we waited for further instruction. Gaze at your partner, and imagine that you see a fuzzy outline around their body. Clear your mind, and project your energy toward them. Focus, and connect with their energy. A color should start to form around their body. The color will reveal their emotional state. FFF0014. You're trying to do hex colors there, Jenna. Miss Crescent explained once everyone had a partner. Josephina and I began staring at each other. I pushed my mind out to her, hoping to get some kind of reaction. I focused on the area surrounding Josephina, just like Miss Crescent told us to do. Oh, wow! Josephina suddenly exclaimed, breaking my concentration. It's so beautiful! Oh, what do you see? I don't see anything around you yet, I said. I see this beautiful light blue around you. It's amazing, Josephina replied. How did you get to see it? I asked. Nothing has changed around you since I began. Just keep concentrating. I not only tried to look at your outer features, but I imagined that I was trying to look into your soul, too. Naturally, magic using pixies would use hex colors. Of course. Yeah, we have to use them for my work email program. No, I bet. I use them for my site building for our clients. My eyes returned to Josephina. Suddenly, I felt like I was looking at her for the first time. A bright gold light surrounded her, shinier than anything I'd ever seen. Oh, I can see it, I exclaimed. I knew you would. If I could do it, I was sure you could. Other students around the room were also gasping with excitement as they discovered their partner's auras. Miss Crescent's voice interrupted the class. Once you have discovered the aura, look up what the color means, but remember to be specific. Your color was a light blue. We'll see if it describes what you're feeling right now. Josephina's hand went down the page searching for the blues, while I searched for gold. A light blue means that you are feeling peaceful and calm. I guess I feel calm right now, I replied. Maybe you should look at my aura during charms class. I found gold under the section headed yellows. Your color says that you're feeling awakened and inspired. Is that true? I asked. I do feel that way. To be honest, I'm kind of excited to have seen your aura before you saw mine. You're so good with mental focus. I just figured that you'd master this. I guess that's why I feel inspired, because I realize that I might actually be good at something. Josephina gushed. Josephina, you're good at a lot of things. You know so much about the pixie world, and you're doing well in other classes. Do you want to know what you're best at? Being a great friend, I replied. Josephina smiled. It means so much to hear you say that. Miss Crescent came over to us, and she had seen us talking. Were you both successful at identifying each other's auras? Yes, and they were very descriptive, Josephina replied. Yes, of course they are. That's wonderful. Miss Crescent then turned to the class. Once you've seen an aura, you may leave. You have until the bell for your first attempt. Tomorrow, we'll pick new partners and practice more aura detection. Josephina and I collected our bags and waited for Miguel in the hallway. He came out of the classroom at the sound of the bell, with a scowl on his face. He was mumbling under his breath. That was a pointless lesson, which isn't a surprise since every lesson of hers is like that, Miguel grumbled. That lesson wasn't pointless. I saw Jane's aura almost straight away. I really enjoyed that class, Josephina said. I saw nothing, not even the outline she was talking about. Anyway, if I had seen the color, what description would I choose? I mean, what's the difference between deep red and muddied red anyway? It's too confusing, and you have to guess at everything. Why do we even have to take this class? Half the students have no idea what she's talking about most of the time. I don't think any of us are going to become seer pixies, Miguel ranted. I didn't speak up because I had thought auras were very interesting, and I had eventually seen Josephina's. If I hadn't, I might be a little skeptical. Miguel, you can't be good at everything, Josephina was insisting. You need to practice opening your mind to someone other than me. Miguel shrugged her off, and he didn't look happy until we got to History of Pixies. Now, this is a real class with facts, Miguel said, ecstatically as we entered. Mr. Collingworth continued his lesson on the American Civil War. He talked about the important battles that pixies had fought in and how a higher percentage of pixies supported the Union over the Confederates. It was a very bloody war, Mr. Collingworth droned on. There is only so much pixie magic can do. A pixie would be lucky if he could protect himself alone, let alone his comrades. Not many pixies were severely wounded, but many humans were lost. Why would pixies fight with humans? Why would pixies fight with humans for a human cause? I would never fight alongside a human, especially for human affairs, Biddy Ann mumbled from the back of the room. Mr. Collingworth continued with his lecture, choosing to ignore her. When the class was over, it was Josephina's turn to complain. Now, what was so important about that class? When learning about history, we can learn people's past mistakes so that we can try not to repeat them. Miguel answered smugly. Not all of us are going to be historian pixies, Josephina returned sarcastically, and their small argument was over. Come on, Betty Ann, normal humans are red shirts. You have to work with them. I was grateful for lunch and the much-needed break. As we entered the dining hall, I noticed several students handing around flyers. I wonder what they're passing out, Josephina said between mouthfuls. When they got to our table, Josephina's eyes lit up, but then darkened with disappointment. The Valentine's Day dance is coming up, but only third years and up can go. Josephina sighed when she looked at the pink flyer. I've had my fair share of dances this year, I replied sadly. Just remembering the last one made me sick. Maybe Juan can take you to this one. Juan will be taking Lena. I bet she's very excited. When's he going to wake up and see how madly in love she is with him? Josephina lamented. I can't wait until I go to a dance. I shuddered as I recalled Thomas's smile when he had come by my room. A sinister smile of anticipation, not adoration. How stupid I had been to have been swept away by that handsome smile, when all along it was Betty Ann's forever. Unconsciously, I looked across the cafeteria at Thomas and Betty Ann. He had held an arm around her, whispering in her ear. She was clutching one of the pink flyers. Were they going as a couple, or plotting the destruction of some other poor soul's evening? Before I could look away, Thomas caught my eye. His lip curved upward maliciously, and from behind Betty Ann's back, he waved at me. Quickly, I looked away, disgusted. Jane? Are you finished with lunch? Miguel asked, shaking my arm. Yes, I replied slowly. We asked you a question twice. Are you okay? Josephina asked, looking concerned. Yes, I'm fine. Let's get ready for charms, I said half-heartedly. We disposed of our dirty dishes and exited the dining hall. Leaning against the wall with his hands in his pockets stood Thomas. I didn't even see him exit the room. Jane, can I escort you to the Valentine's Day dance? I saw you watching me from across the hall. Thomas raised his eyebrows suggestively. I wouldn't accompany you to the dance even if you were the last man on earth, I said as I walked by him. Jane, I just saw you daydreaming about me asking you. I know you're jealous of Betty Ann. Since you think I'm so handsome, I'll invite you again. You don't have to beg me like you did last time. Me? Jealous of Betty Ann? I would never be jealous of her. How can I be jealous of someone who cheats off me in class? It sounds like it's the other way around. I called over my shoulder. Suddenly, he was at my side, following me down the hallway. Jane, I'm just letting you know you don't have to beg me this time. I'm willing to sacrifice so you can go to the dance. Well, to be fair, if he was the last man on earth, the odds are the dance was canceled months before. That is very true. Dance for two? I don't think so. Are you delusional? I would never beg you. And I didn't beg you to go the last time. You're a snake. And I'll never have you escort me to another dance. Leave me alone, Thomas. By the way, you need to check your collar. Betty Ann seems to have you on a tight leash. You wouldn't want to choke, I said loudly. Other students who had overheard me were stifling their giggles and pointing at Thomas. His mouth dropped open and he stopped following me down the hallway. Well done, Jane. I was shaken by my encounter with Thomas, but Josephina touched my hand. I'm so proud of you. Thomas is an idiot, and Betty Ann's puppet. They must think you're really that stupid. We abruptly stopped talking when we entered the Charms classroom. Mr. Withermeyer was early today, and was sitting at his desk with his dark overcoat still on. His piercing green eyes followed me across the room with a glare that made me shudder. Why were his eyes always following me? Why did he hate me so much? At this point in my life, I was used to people hating me. I could understand the reasons of others. But what was Mr. Withermeyer's reason? I was torn between looking away or defiantly looking back at him. I wanted to look into his eyes, to show him I was not intimidated by him. But then again, I didn't want any more trouble. Have a splendid evening. Thank you for reading, Atkinson. Hey, Hicks, thanks for coming by again. I really appreciate your support. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and I hope tomorrow is a good start to your work week. So, yeah, thank you. Mr. Withermeyer's lecture focused on the importance of carefully reading the textbook and adding the right ingredients for our assignments. He mentioned the harm we could cause our fellow students if we didn't read the directions carefully. Occasionally he glanced at me, as if my charm had been wrong. I was angry that he was insinuating it was the reason Taylor had been sent to the hospital when I noticed out of the corner of my eye that Taylor was looking at Mr. Withermeyer with an angry expression. It was the first time I had ever seen her look so hostile, especially toward a teacher. I was relieved when class was finally over, and I could escape into the hallway. It was hard trying to mask my anger when it was obvious that Mr. Withermeyer was implying. As we got further down the hall, Miguel finally spoke. I don't know why we had to listen to a lecture like that. Why did he make it sound like you had done something wrong, when he knows very well that your charm was completed correctly? I don't know, I said. I was about to continue down the hallway when I felt a slight tug on my sleeve. I turned around to face Taylor. She looked better than when I had seen her in the hospital wing, and she seemed fueled by anger. No matter what he says, Jane, what happened to me isn't your fault. He was trying to make everyone believe you had done something wrong. I'm so mad he's making you the class scapegoat, when you just happened to be the one to cast the charm. After all, Dr. Tweedle analyzed your charm and said you had done it correctly. It's only because of my memories. Taylor sighed, and then she seemed to realize what she'd said. Why do you think your memories cause your reactions to the charm? I asked slowly. I didn't want it to seem like I was prying. The last thing I wanted was to make Taylor uncomfortable. My memories haunt me. I don't want to talk about them, she said matter-of-factly, as she breezed past me on the way to Earth catastrophes, leaving me standing puzzled in the hallway. And that brings us to the end of chapter 19. Page 241 is where we start next. Only 60-ish pages left to go. Crazy. there's the link to the book one more time. And now, it is time for Stream Raiders. Alright. I'm gonna curse this guy, because why not? Good luck, everybody. Gariki's orc taking the brunt of the damage while everyone else defeats the little wimpy enemies. Everyone else is coming in for the fight. Will Garuki finish him off before we even get there? Oh, it's over! It's over! Good job. Gariki, you earned this one. Good job, everybody. Well done. Boss defeated. Victory! Alright. I have closed the puzzle, because we obviously don't need that today. Hope everyone has enjoyed the last few chapters. Yes, it was quite interesting. Some tension building, some things flying back and forth there. It was fun. I just hate random when so many people show up with just one troop. Yeah, I know, you have your own kind of strategy. You give rewards to those that are in the chat at the time. And I sometimes do that, like right now. But most of the time I do random just because I want to play fair. Troops are troops. And if there's more than a few people, I don't know who to give it to. So, anywho, let's see who's on that we can go say hello to. Aranel, I thought you were going to be streaming at 4 o'clock, my time. But I don't see you on. So I can't read you. Unless you're going live right now. Ooh, I can upgrade a troop. Berserker. Thank you, Jenna. I hope you have a good afternoon too. We'll be back on Thursday. And of course, if you're subbed, you can join me in Discord tomorrow night when we read, or continue to read, Ready Player One. So, be as it may, that is what's happening. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time in the, what room is it called? Subs Only Chat, or Subscriber Reading Room, sorry, is the technical title. So, alright. I think Aranel is about to start her stream. So I'm going to go to the ending page. I appreciate you all coming. I hope today has been fun for you. I hope you have enjoyed your time. And thank you for putting up with my crazy annoying voice, because it is what it is. So, let's go and raid Aranel. If I can type. Apparently talking and typing are a struggle today. Alright. Thank you so much. Stick around for the raid. Get yourself a few channel points. Give Aranel a follow. She's still trying to get to affiliate. Let's help her out. Mr. Carrington, thank you so much for hanging out today. I really appreciated seeing you in here. It was a pleasure. If anyone wants to join me tomorrow, I will be in there, 7 p.m. Central. Otherwise, we'll be back Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, to continue reading Pixie Dust, Stream Raiders, Jigsaw Puzzles, Catching Pokemon, all the usuals. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Take care.
those are the reasons why this author, writer thinks we should admire Fanny and Mansfield Park.